Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Felicitas. I apologize for any background noise in advance. So I will just switch on my internet to just do a small introduction before we begin the event. So my name is Felicitas Kavu. I am a Microsoft Land Student Ambassador in the Alpha program. So we will talk about the Microsoft Land Student Ambassador program at the end. So do not worry about that. Apart from that, I am also Student Advisory Council member at Forage. If you want any information on that, my number is in the WhatsApp group. You can reach out to me on the same. I am also the chair of the Society of Engineering students in the University of Jomo Kenyatta. If you're in Jomo Kenyatta University and would like to be part of that, you can also reach out to me on the same. And other than that, I also love reading books. I love novels. I love psychological thrillers. If you want any suggestions, you can also just hit me up and I'll give you a very long list of books for you to go read. So other than that, thank you so much for taking your time to be here. We've started a bit past time, but we will make sure that we are done by 4:30 p.m. So thank you, and Neha, you can take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Felicitas. So, hi, hello everyone. I'm Neha, a Better Student Ambassador from Microsoft, and I've been into few tech communities like Women Tech Network, Coding Girls, and I'm also a dedicated Howard University conference where I'll be talking about the people who suffer in the COVID revolutions as a speaker. And I'm also a mentor, a tech club lead, and I'm also into GDG and a few other companies in student programs. And I really love to help people, students, to get immersed into the latest technologies, and I try my best to ensure that they can reach a modern technical exposure through these workshops. So thank you everyone for taking time and joining us today. We'll really have a clean exposure on how we can use Python in space explorations through this workshop. So without wasting time, let's get started.
Okay, thank you, Neha. So for the purpose of clarity, we'll switch off our videos. So let me begin by presenting my screen so that we can go through the basics and understand just what the space program that we wrote in the poster is all about. So just a minute. Okay, I'm saying my screen is being shared. Don't know why my laptop is acting up. Okay, now we're okay. I trust everyone can see my screen. Could I maybe get a verbal confirmation from someone, since I can't see the chat area, that my screen is visible? Kindly.
It's visible.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll get started. So I'll just take you through the flow of the event. So we've already done the brief introduction of the speakers. We will go through the opportunities of the Artemis program. We'll take you through what exactly that is, and NASA STEM programs that you can plug into as a student in education of, in a facility of higher education, sorry. And then we'll go through use of code and data science practices to solve space exploration problems. And then we'll have a practical session, which will be led by Neha. After that is when we'll have the Q&A session and a brief session on how you can apply for Microsoft Land Student Ambassador, and next time be on this other side of the platform and be presenting your own event. So without further ado, I will begin by taking you through the Artemis program. So the Artemis program is a NASA project that whose goal is to send the first woman and the next man on the moon. As we know, we already have a man that landed on the moon about more than almost 50 years ago. So with the Artemis program, the goal is to land the first woman and the next man on the moon. And this goal is to be achieved by 2024. And the difference with this program and the first program that launched the first man on the moon is that with the information that will be gotten from taking these people on the moon will now take giant steps to take astronauts to Mars. And I know what the question is, why Mars and not any other planet? So the reason why is because after Earth, Mars is the most habitable planet in our solar system. And why this is the case is because, first of all, the soil on Mars contains water that can be extracted. We know that human beings need water for survival. Second of all, it is neither too cold or too hot, because cold, there's frostbite. With being too hot, we can't really survive with such kind of temperatures. And then third, there is enough sunlight on Mars to use solar panels. Gravity on Mars is also 38% of that on Earth, and that is believed to be sufficient for the human body to adapt to. Then we have the fact that the atmosphere on Mars offers protection from cosmic and other sun's radiation, and the day and night rhythm is very similar to the one we have here on Earth. A day in Mars is equal to 24 hours, 39 minutes, and 35 seconds, which isn't as bad compared to Earth, in which a day is just equal to 24 hours. So yeah, so that is why Mars is very critical in the exploration in the Artemis program. So, like I said, Artemis is more than an exploration of the moon. It's a discovery of how humans and machines might make it possible to explore further into our universe and stay on foreign planets for longer. NASA is planning a number of experiments to launch during the Artemis program. So the experiments will require, collaboration between experts working on Earth and the astronauts on the moon, and the machines that are programmed on Earth and executed on the moon. Because if I know most of us, or a good number of us, have watched a couple of sci-fis, and we've seen, like, when a rocket is launched into space, there's normally constant communication with the experts that remain on Earth. So it also will reflect in the Artemis program. So there are a number of key innovations that are being made around the Artemis program to make it a success. The first one being exploration ground systems. And what does this entail? With exploration ground system is centered around creating powerful rockets and more resources that will enable the astronauts to stay longer and reach farther on the surface of the moon. And next we have the space launch system. Because at the end of the day, like we've said with the Artemis program, the goal is not just to get to the moon, but using this knowledge, using the data that will be collected for the moon, start preparing for landing on Mars. So the rocket isn't just for the moon, it's also meant for future launches to planets such as Mars. So the space launch system is geared towards making sure that that happens. Third is Orion, and with this, it is to take care of the astronauts and the spacecraft as they enter the lunar orbit and return to the Earth safely, to protect them from the extreme heat that they will experience during re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. I'm not going very deep into the details. There is a resources page that I have linked in this slide, in this presentation. I will be sending the presentation to the WhatsApp group that we have, so you can be able to access it. And if you want to further your knowledge on any of the things that we will talk about today, you can do that. So yeah, my apologies if I don't go too much into detail, because we want to make sure that the event isn't too long that it gets tiring. So yeah, bear with us kindly. So the next one is Gateway. So Gateway is centered around communication. Like we said, when a rocket is launched to space, there needs to be constant communication between the astronauts and the experts on Earth. So Gateway is centered around communication between the astronauts and the experts that will remain on Earth. Then the human landing system will allow astronauts to move from the lunar orbit to the surface of the moon reliably and safely. And lastly, we have the Artemis generation spacesuits. I remember I'd opened a page over here on the suit up page. My apologies if it takes some time to load. I've also linked this in the resources area. So here on the SUTA page, you will get information on the two spacesuits that NASA is specifically working on for the Artemis program. You will also, there's also a video, yeah, this one, this Watch Spacesuits for the Next Generation. It's a really informative video. It takes you through the evolution of spacesuits from the one that was used when man landed on the moon first. From the video, you'll see that with that spacesuit, man had to hop. He couldn't walk on the moon. They had to, the person had to hop on the moon, and even in the video, they show a clip, and you can see just how difficult it is for them to walk on the moon and even collect any rock samples from the moon. So yeah, that is a very informative video. If you have time, I have left the link in the resources page. I will show you the resources page at the end, and then you can know where to find it. So other research goals of space exploration. So like we said, it has been 50 years since the last person was on the moon. So this means it's been 50 years since the last rock samples were collected from the moon. So the same way a lot has happened in the past 50 years. 50 years ago, we weren't even, none of us was born. A couple of our parents weren't even born. So you see, a lot has happened in the past 50 years on Earth. So you can imagine all the change that's happened on the moon over the past 50 years. So new missions to the moon are planned as part of the Artemis program. These missions bring an opportunity to increase the size of the rock sample gathered in the past and discover new rocks that might be of interest in learning what has happened on the surface of the moon over the past 50 years. Okay, so now we will go into the use of code and data science to solve space exploration problems. The first point is that data plays a very key role in different industry settings, and not just even in the industry setting, even on a personal level. Like a good example is maybe the data that you receive from your lecturer on like a test that you do. The grade that you get will tell you if maybe this is a subject or a unit that you want to give more effort to, or it's a unit that you're better off and you don't need as much time dedicated to it. So at the end of the day, data is very important. If you're an app developer, the data that you'll receive from your users in terms of their reviews will tell you what you need to improve on, what is working, what is not working, what problems are they facing, and then using that data, you can be able to curate your app to work for your users. So an example of how NASA uses data is in the analysis of rocks. So the work that NASA scientists did in the past to study rocks and predict weather patterns means that there is now a lot of data to be analyzed. This data allows NASA to analyze large number of rocks, not just individual ones. And with this data, NASA can now better equip astronauts with strategies for finding, identifying, and collecting rock samples that they know will further understanding. And NASA can also begin to accurately predict the right dates and time for rocket launches, saving money and increasing the likelihood of success. Because at the end of the day, launching a rocket is quite expensive. It's in the figures of millions of dollars. So it's not something that you can have like a TraceX for. So by the time a rocket is being launched, a lot of data has been analyzed and computed for this rocket to be launched. So yes, that is it for that. Okay. Someone, okay. Oh, I thought someone had switched on their mic. I thought maybe they had a question. So we will continue on with, so a little bit of a disclaimer. So for the practical session that Neha will be conducting, she will be doing it on her laptop and presenting her screen. In future, we will try to incorporate events in which the person who's organized the event and the attendees are able to like do projects together. Like maybe if we have another event to learn about the essentials of JavaScript or just any programming language, that could be something that we can ask maybe the attendees to make sure that, they join with their laptops and all of that you're able to do as you see, which will be way more informative. So we will plan around more events that involve the audience more. So pardon me, this was my first event, and who knows, maybe I'll be planning this next event that I'm talking about with one of you in the audience if you decide to join the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program. So I will go into the tools that we'll be using. So as the name of the event said, it's use of Python to solve space exploration problems. So we will be using Python, and Visual Studio Code is the IDE that will be running the Python code on. So I'll just give a brief introduction of Python. Again, if you have any programming background, we apologize for the reiteration, but we're just working from a perspective of, from the perspective of the person who's new to programming and all of that. So Python was created by Guido van Rossum after the television show Monty Python, and this was in 1991, if I'm not wrong. Another feature of Python is that it is a high-level programming language. So a high-level programming language means that from the programmer's point of view, the code reads closer to the natural language. So I already have my VS Code open. Okay. So this is an example of a simple code. This, if for anyone who's learned any programming language, you know that this is the first code that you write, the hello world code. So this is a line of code that I wrote using Python. So it's print hello world. So here's the output down here, hello world. So as you can see, it's very, how can I say, it's very close to the English language. As compared to low-level programming languages such as C and C++. For example, I know for C++, to get an output, it's cout. For C, it's printf. For a language like JavaScript, it's console.log. So you see, these languages aren't as close to the natural language as Python is. So if you've been thinking of learning any programming language, you could start with Python because it is quite an easy language, and also with Python, it will just be the beginning of your journey, because after Python you can learn there's algorithms using Python, you can learn learning into AI, or if you want, you can start with the low-level programming languages, though they are they're not, I won't say they're a bit difficult, but like I said, they're low-level programming languages, so the code won't be close to the natural language, but you could start with them, because if you start with that, then Python will be a bit easy for you to get around. I also, for anyone who wants to learn Python, another quick tip that I could give you is make sure you do as many projects as you can. I found this book that I was using when I was learning Python. It's called Python by Example. It has 150 small, medium, and large size projects, depending on the level that you're at. It was very helpful for me when I was learning how to code in Python. So I will be sending it to the group after this, so that if anyone wants to learn, they can learn using the book. It was very, very helpful for me, and I know it will be helpful for someone in the call, so I will be sending it to the group. So yeah, so that is a little bit about Python. So we'll go into some details on Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is a free, open source, and extensible code editor. This is Visual Studio Code. So open source means, Visual Studio Code being open source means that, there are developers all over the world constantly working to improve on features on Visual Studio Code. And yeah, so it is a code editor. So in case there's any bug there's any syntax error or structural error, you will be able to see it in this terminal here and correct on your error. So Visual Studio Code is very popular. Like, if you've learned any programming language, you definitely know about Visual Studio Code. It is a product of Microsoft, and the reason why Visual Studio Code is so popular among developers is because, first of all, like I said, it's open source, so features are constantly being added to it by developers around the world. Second is that it supports all languages. So you don't have to cram your computer or laptop with so many softwares or programs. With Visual Studio Code, you can just you can run all your code inside here. Like for example, I am currently learning JavaScript also. So I'm currently using Visual Studio Code to learn Python and also JavaScript. So once you download Visual Studio Code and come to the extensions part, depending on whichever language you want to learn, maybe you want to learn the Go language, you just type Go and then you see you're able to download the extension for that. If it's C++, C#, whatever language you want to learn, you can learn all of it under Visual Studio Code. And last but not least is the fact that it is free. So it is very helpful for students who are trying to learn new programs. And so I will just brush through the slides on installation really quickly because, like I said, we aren't going to be doing the project with Neha. So the first, in the resources page, I have left a link for downloading Visual Studio Code. So you can just go to the resources page on this slide on this presentation that I will send, and then click on installing Visual Studio Code. Or you can go to my Google Chrome and just type Visual Studio Code and download Visual Studio Code. After that, this page will appear. I just click on I accept the agreement, then click on next. After all of that, this will appear. You can use this to just click or to tick on the icons, because not everything will be ticked for you, but this is a suggestion that you can have a better experience with using Visual Studio Code, so you can use that. So we are learning how to solve space exploration problems, with Python. So to download Python, I have also left a link for the same in the resources page. But if you have already downloaded Visual Studio Code, you don't need to download Python. All you need to do is come to your extensions page, type Python, and then I've already installed mine, so that's why you're not seeing the option of install, and then install it. So you can either do that, or you can opt to install the Python software, which is also okay. The guideline for that is here. So yeah, so you install that. Okay, so that is that with Visual Studio Code and Python. So I'm going to talk a little bit about another software that we'll be using. I'm going to call it a software because it's still Python code. It's called Jupyter Notebook. So with Jupyter Notebook, you're still coding in Python, but this time you're coding in cells. Like for example, if you're running a really huge chunk of code, you're able to run a small portion of your code in a particular cell, test if it's okay, then move on to the next, and all of that. It's still under the same file, but it's under different cells that you can run. So what this page is showing, so once you've downloaded your Visual Studio Code and you've downloaded the Python extension, and something I forgot to mention, when you're saving files on Visual Studio Code, you have there's a way you're supposed to save them depending on which language you're writing in. For example, you can see here that my Python program, I wrote it as test.py. So you have to use the suffix .py. So this is an example that I wrote, an example of a code file that I saved. This one is for Jupyter Notebook. So for Python files, you save them as .py. For Jupyter Notebook files, you save them as .ipynb. That's the extension that you use to save them. So I'll just run a simple code. My apologies for anyone who's not worked with Python before in programming language, but I'll write the most simple code. So num1 is equals to 4. I'm just declaring a variable. Num2 is equals to 5. And then I can say print num1 and num2 and then run that code. Let's say, okay, sorry, okay, yeah, it's there. And so let's say in a world where maybe this code is very long, so you'll be able to see me, so I can say sum is equals to num1 plus num2. Then I want to print the sum. So there I run the code because 4 plus 5 is 9. So that is a simple code that I have run on Jupyter Notebook. You see, I have declared the variables in one cell and I've been able to use the same variables in a different cell. So that is one feature of Jupyter Notebook. You code your program in cells, but it's still under the same file, so you can still use variables that you declared in the first cell in a third cell, as long as, yeah, you can still use them. I don't want to go into further details and confuse anyone, so I'll just say that. And also you're able to, in case you want to change anything, you can just change, in fact, you're able to rerun your code in different cells. Yeah. So that is it. So what this page is basically showing, because I didn't take you through like the Jupyter Notebook extension, once you save as a file as .ipynb, you will get this sort of error. So just go and click on install, and after that your Jupyter Notebook, extension will be installed, and you can now be able to code in the Jupyter Notebook environment. So like I said, this is the resources page. Yeah, this is the resources page. The first one is for those who want to learn more about the NASA spacesuits. It is there. For those who want to learn more about the opportunities you can explore in NASA while studying in university or college, this is something I would advise any of you to explore. It's definitely something that I will be exploring after this, to just see, because basically what's when I open the page, it's just simple problems that you can be able to solve continuously and just get to learn and keep yourself updated on the HTML program and what is happening. On this page, you will be able to on this link, sorry, you'll be able to download Visual Studio Code. And on the last one, you'll be able to download Python. So next, we will be going into the practical part of our event. But before that, just a minute, let me just get back to the meeting. Okay. Okay. So before that, so that it is not too monotonous or anything like that, I prepared a little game for you. Let me just stop presenting that I can able to just switch on my video and show you the little game that I have for you. So, okay. So okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't stop screen sharing. Okay, so this is a simple, I don't know if you can see it. I feel like I'll be someone that's on YouTube. But okay, so with this game, as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 rows. So with this game, I will need 4 volunteers. I will pick the first volunteer. I don't know if I'll be able to see. Yeah, I'm able to see people's names on the attendee list. So I will pick a first volunteer, and then you will get to pick one of the colors. I'll read out the colors for you, and then you'll get to pick one of the colors, and depending on the color that you pick, there's something inside for you to tell us or do. They're just would you rather questions for us to just rest our minds a bit, that we're not going all in and all in, that you don't get time to just absorb all that you're learning. So I'll pick the first person, and then the first person will pick a second person. I just want us to do this for the next like 5 minutes, so that by 3:50 p.m. East African time, we've started on the practical part, so that after that we also have like 5 minutes that I can take you through the Microsoft Learn student ambassador program. Sorry. So yes, so I will pick my first volunteer. So like I said, after the first person, you just pick a second person. We just need 4 people to get started. I don't know when I click on some names, I'm not okay. So our first volunteer is Victor Gitahi. Victor, kindly switch on your microphone. Are you there? Hello. Okay, I don't know if maybe he is not around. So I will pick a different person. Ivy Michelle, are you there? Ivy. If you're there, kindly just switch on your mic and give us a verbal confirmation so that we can start. Hello. Okay. I don't know if I'm audible or I don't know if I'm the one who's not audible.
You are audible, Felicitas.
Okay. For a moment, I thought I wasn't. Okay, I just choose the last volunteer. Hopefully, this volunteer will switch on their mic, even if we'll only just get one person to play the game. Crystal.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi.
Okay, so Crystal, yellow or indigo?
Indigo.
Indigo. Okay, so for indigo, the question is, would you rather be without elbows or without knees?
I think elbows.
Okay, thank you for your response. It's a very difficult choice to make. So thank you, Crystal, for participating. So we just need one last volunteer. So I will pick someone at random. So let me see some name.
How
Safa?
about Stephen? Okay, either one would be great.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm telling like Safa. Are we audible? Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay. Safa, I don't know if you're there, if you're able to unmute.
Oh, yeah, I'm there.
Okay, thank you so much. So Safa, your choice is between green and white.
White and
White and green. White or green?
white.
White. Okay. So wow, this is actually centered around the theme of our event. So would you rather be a deep sea diver or an astronaut?
An astronaut.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting
Yeah.
answer. Okay. Thank you so much for participating. So since I had a difficult time getting 2 participants, in the interest of time, we will just go to the practical part of our session, and then after that we'll have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions based on what I've presented or what Neha will present, you can just ask during the Q&A session, which will be after Neha's presentation. So Neha, you may take the floor.
Thank you so much for this. So now let's dive into the practical section. Hope my screen is visible to you all. I'm gonna present it. Is my screen visible?
Not yet. From my side, I can't see your screen yet.
Okay, let me try again. Now is it visible? I'm representing Visual Studio Code.
Okay.
Can
I don't know if we can get a verbal confirmation from someone else in the audience, or if it's just me who can't
yeah.
see. Yeah, Neha's input. Maybe it's a
Okay.
problem on my side.
Anyone of the audience, can you
Or
please respond that either my presentation is visible to you or not?
okay, I can see your screen. I can see it now. Okay, I can see it.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's due to the low network. Okay, so I'll start with explaining the Visual Code. So yeah, basically, the use of code and data science practices to solve the exploration problems is really a very important component for exploring space exploration. So quite scientists in space exploration use Python for the advancement sources to really think about a very quantitative solutions to resolve the problems. So the scientific areas of interest for NASA research are vast. Why we are focusing on how to code is playing a vital role. Simply, Microsoft is a leader in innovation around coding tools and data science services. So that is why we are today as a Microsoft Learn Students Ambassadors explaining you how hard the task explaining a tool like Python is playing a vital role for space explorations. By using tools such as this Visual Studio Code and services like Azure offers to explore data, you can start exploring data and discovering insights within an hour. But more than that, the new services offered by many different companies create a new type of research. The hard work and dedication of NASA scientists who worked for the first rock samples and tracked weather patterns for launches means there are now massive amounts of data. This data allows NASA to analyze large number of rocks, not just individual ones. NASA can now better equip astronauts with the strategies for finding, identifying, and collecting rock samples that they know will further understanding. NASA can also begin to more accurately predict the right dates and times for rocket launches, saving money and increasingly the likelihood of success. Isn't that exciting that Microsoft is really into a vast space exploration? I really like this a lot. Hope you all guys too. So, the type of research and innovation offered by services like Azure, Visual Studio Code doesn't replace a critical work that happens before or after data exploration, but it does with another topic to the conversation. And NASA's data is free and open for all to use. Even you can just type in Google NASA data and just download it and work on the data, whatever you like it. So this is now what we're gonna do for the upcoming practical session I'm going to explain for you. And NASA's data is really very vast. So it opens the doors for more people who are interested in learning about space, like me, people who might potentially discover something new to begin their journey from the younger age. So we are just in an age of 19 to 20, but we are very much excited that how we can work in NASA. Many of the students are really very much excited that how can they contribute themselves to the world's most famous NASA Space Exploration Institute. But now here we are going to do some baby steps through Microsoft company so that we could explore space exploration. Isn't it your passion and the problems presented here to offer a creative ways for discovering through data that could apply your constraints face elsewhere? Without the ability to make a quick trip back to the moon, we have to deal with incomplete data about rock samples and still learn from them. Without the ability to launch a bunch of rockets on different days to determine the best weather conditions, we have to predict accurately years in advance when the rocket should launch and able to abort the launch if conditions are really very much poor, like our network connections. These challenges in NASA specific endeavors can similar to the other problems you might face in other industries. Isn't that really very much passionate that uh, great provide people sorry for the inconvenience. Can you listen me? Like, am I audible?
Yeah, now you are. Now you are.
Okay. So fine. Uh, let me. Okay. So yeah, using Python and Visual Studio Code to make a simple program to count the number of each type of space rock is the what project we are going to do now. So now, uh, so the project I'm going to explain need Jupyter Notebook, as Felicitas have clearly explained you that how we can install the extension. So we need an extension of Jupyter Notebook. Have already installed it, but if you want to install, you can just type the icon here to install, and we need Python. Python from directly from Microsoft, which an IntelliSense Microsoft for linting, debugging, and a lot more for the rich support of Python language and actively supporting version languages. So I require, so I'll be suggesting you to please download these two extensions for VS Code project that we are about to do. So the project where I'm going to explain is about how we can count the number of each type of space rocks. So here we are going to write few variables in the context of the program, and how we can pre-build functions to read data from a text file, and also to create a function and call it in the context of the program, and also to write few conditional and loops in the context of the program. So are you guys ready? So now let's start into the project. I'll be giving a basic introduction that how we can start the project. So basically, think you are a geologist working at NASA, and you're responsible for analyzing different types of rocks found in an Artemis rover and producing a report. The rover will send a text document of different types of rocks which you will need to parse through. Your friend tells you how the Python programming language can make a task much easier than doing it by hand and more automated. So by this project, you will be able to build a simple notebook with Python to complete a task to perform this project. So you'll be applying variety of introductory computer science topics, and we'll also use Visual Studio Code with Python extension to run the code and use pre-built functions. That will help you to complete this project. Okay, so yeah, I would suggest to pre-install the Visual Studio Code, and we will be providing you the link how you can install the Visual Studio Code for the further more procedures. Okay, to start, to create a program, make a folder somewhere on your computer that you can access easily, and call a folder something like a Space Rock project like that. And I'll be sharing you a text document where you can just okay where you can just uh, use this text document for the furthermost parsing the code. This document I'll just share you. Give me a sec. Okay. So I'll be sharing this text document in your chat box. Hope you use this. The persons who have already
install VS Code, try to perform this project along with me. Here you go. So I've sent you the text document that we are going to about to perform the project, and just go to a new file. Okay, so yeah, please make sure you just save that as a copy of your folder, and this file contains all the rocks data that we are about to going to read using Python. So next, now open your Visual Studio tool and select a file and go to new file. So once the black file is open, let me just minimize this. Yeah. Once the black file is open, just press Ctrl plus yes. I'm repeating it again, just press Ctrl plus yes. Yes. So just go navigate to the place where you have saved the text document, so that name a file something which more informative, or just create a new folder in the same doc folder where you have created it. Let me just create a new folder, and I'll be I'm going to keep something name as Artemis rock classifier. Okay, I'm good to go. And at the save type, do choose Jupyter from the drop down menu. Now we have everything created, we can just start coding. So I'll be selecting Jupyter. Yeah. I already have a Atomis rock classifier file, but I'll be doing it with a new file along with you. That's great. So here my Jupyter notebook is created using Visual Studio Code. So now to start our program, we'll want to let the user know that the program is just Python. So by using the print command with an output string, I just perform a simple program to print. What shall we print? We'll just print that whatever rocks we are about to parse. Artemis rover rock scanner starting. Now just let's run this. Okay, sorry for the error. Now yeah, so now we want to create some variables that will represent the count of different types of rocks that Artemis found on the moon. The specific rocks that we are looking are basalt. Let us check what is in the what is in the rocks document. So now let us check and see that what's there, that how can we let me open the text for you. First, let us analyze what is there. Yeah, so there are about few names of the rocks which the geologist found on the space moon rock. So now let's see what are there. So there's a few rocks that are called basalt, a mare rock, breccia, shock rock, highland rock, anorthosite, and regolith soil surface layer. These are the 4 types of rocks found on the moon. Am I missing something? Maybe not. Yeah. So there are 4 rock moons. So let's make some variables with name of Basel, Briaca, Highland, and Rejoland. We can also set these variables to 0 since we have not yet counted any rocks. So finally, let me initialize each rock, the moon rock data from the text file. Now that we have some variables made, we can start giving these variable values. We want to count the number of times we see a certain type of rock in the rock text dot file and add the number of corresponding values. For example, if there were 12 basalt rocks that Armitage saved to the text file, then we want to basalt variables to set to 12. So let's start by telling a computer to read in the rocks.txt file. To do this, copy the code below. The readline function will read the first line with which I'm going to code right now. So now let's set the path. That's equal to, so what's the file name? It's rocks.txt. So yes. And now let's see the file object. That is equals to open. Now let's open the file path. Next, let's parse each line, whether it's parsed or not. Let's check it using file object dot read lines, so that this function will able to read all the lines inside the text function. And now let's print and see whether how it parse the whole document through each line. Okay, yeah, it parsed each line. So now we can call the readlines function to put all the lines into our rock list variable. We'll also print all the rocks that are in the rock list and close the file object. Such that, let's initialize like rock list is equals to our file object dot read lines for each rock in rock list. Print rock. And let me come out of the loop. So file object dot close. So although we only pricing out each rock that we'll see in the file at this stage, this few code of steps will set up perfectly to call a function. This function will look at each rock and add the corresponding variable if it sees a rock is a correct type. Okay. I've named it. Yeah, that is it. So now the next step of our application is to add a function that will look at a line of text. So tell us which type of rock is it and increment the corresponding variable. So for that, let's count each and every rock. So I'm going to define my own function using count moon rocks. with rock ID and now I'm declaring globally all the variables so that I could use on the whole application, that global basalt, yeah, and global braca with small b, and global highland, last global regolith. Isn't the names are really very unique? Yeah, these are the real names that are used on the moon rocks. So frog to ID is equals to rock to ID dot lower. So let me just type all the code and explain you how it goes. So yeah, so now we are going to count the each of the code. So let me just do it. Let me just recheck few steps of the code. Yeah. Yeah. Just to recheck, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah. So, as we recall, these lines are create a function has a parameter of a string variable to rock to ID. That means each rock have an individual ID and we are going to count it and returns nothing. We'll be calling the function and passing in one of our four rock names, basalt, breccia, highland, and regolith, so that we need to make each rock type a global variable as I have initialized here before, and later to ensure that the variables will remember how many rocks they have counted. To increment the correct value based on the right, I have incremented the each value said if it reads in the text document it's basalt, then it gets to the basalt bucket. And now if it reads a breccia word, then it goes to the breccia bucket. And each time whenever the word matches its type, it increments its count variable. So this is how this code is all about, and we'll be using here a loop function because there are only four types. So that is why I'm using a nested if function, so that there are only four options to go. If no one, then just it will return back. That is it. So to increment a correct variable based on the types of rock that atom is found, we'll use these statements, the else if nested else if statement that I have used here for few codes, And the code above checks if the string we have passed through the function has the next text basalt. If it does, we'll go into if statement and print out if we have found the statement, and print out if we found the basalt rock, and then increment the value of black basalt by 1. You have read the whole text document, and uh, an important point is that if the line of the text had basalt in it with other text, it would still be counted. For example, no basalt here would be counted. Like, just think that there's like no basalt here in the text document. But still, there shouldn't be a problem in this case, because no way the data is coming from what it would be look like. It just counts the words. Am I clear? So now, and else if statements are for remaining type of the rocks. If there is a highland or regolith, then it would increment its value. So for now, that we have a function made, we created the list of items that we are about to read and initialized all the type of rocks that we are about to count. Now let's check to count the number of moon rocks by calling Python function. So now how we can do that? So we'll include all the call to it, so it would be used. We'll create a for loop to go through every value in our rock list and call the function with each rock. So for rock in rock list, count moon rocks. In rock. Okay, so the definition of the mean is correct. Now let's execute it. And then this code will call the function that we created for each line of text, each rock that was reported by rover. The function will add to the count of the corresponding type to the rock and store this number in a respective variable. Now that we all of the rock, so that we all have to do is that to count these variable, we can use some additional code to write summaries about them. Now let's just analyze the data. So I'll print number of basalt. So actually the basalt variable value is incremented as soon as it finds one more word of the basalt. So I'll just that. So the number of basalt here is like 0. So now let's check for few others also. Similarly, I'll be tapping for the whole all the rocks. As you see, first output of the string that tells the user what they'll see. Then we can concat on the variable name that includes the number of basalt rock that we found. Do the same. So we'll be doing the same things for the 4 types of rock variables we created. Next, let's provide some more general data, such as the type of rocks that was the most of and the least of common. In case we use the max and min functions we learned before, like max function gives you the maximum count, and min function gives you the min count. Okay, so I'll be putting few quotes of data into it, and now let's see how it goes. Okay, seems like Seems like I've mistaken somewhere. I just... Okay, I haven't executed the fourth one here. Sorry. So there are 4 basils. Similarly, I've counted for Breccia, Highland, and Regolith, and the maximum number of rocks we found and the minimum number of rocks we found between the 4 rocks. Now let's see. Yes. So Breccia and Highland have the maximum number of rocks, and Regolith and Basalt have minimum number of rocks. So we counted how many number of rocks have been so far. So this is how the project is all about, and we have successfully programmed the amateurs to give the summary about the different types of rocks that we have conducted. So let me just drop a few quiz questions that you so far you have understood that how we can collude it with the program. So as far as that, let me just summarize whatever I covered. So yeah, we created our own Python program in Jupyter Notebook to detect the moon rocks and count how many of each type are found. And then we also used some built-in functions to summarize the data about rocks. And we're gonna have some upcoming episodes about the NASA inspired that how we can do a few more projects related to space rocks, and it will be really excited if you guys join us for the next section also. So yeah, I'll be dropping all the details and resources that we have initialized using Gen code. Yeah, I'll be giving all the resources that you guys wanted for the upcoming project that you'll be practicing upon, and for any doubts and queries you can just
Hello, Neha. I don't know if you can hear me, but we've lost you. Anyway, she warned me about her network problem. So, but at least it came after she's already taken us through the practical part of our session. So we are almost at the end of our event. So right now we'll have a Q&A session. So I don't know if any of you have any questions regarding the event, regarding anything that has been presented. If you have any questions, I will be taking them right now. Because we're supposed to end by 4:30, I'll just give 30 seconds. For anyone who has any question, you can just ask. I will respond in whatever capacity I can. Anything I can't respond to, we will respond to it in the group after this event. But if you have a question, you can just switch on your mic and just ask your question, so that for the last 3 or so minutes, I can just take you through the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Program. So any questions, anyone? Any questions? I understand maybe it was a bit difficult for you to follow, considering maybe, especially if you weren't doing the project on your own laptop. But like Neha said, I will send the presentation to the group immediately after this, and she will also be sending the code that she's used to the group, so that you can just go through it and understand what's happening. So I have been talking for the past almost 1 minute, so I will take it as a sign that no one has a question. So I will just take you, let me just share my screen so that I can show you my browser about how you can, so that you can see how you can join the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Program. Just a minute. So it'll only take about 2 minutes and then we can end the call. Okay, so I am on my browser. So what, before I even go search how to join the Microsoft Learn Ambassador Program, what it entails, what the Microsoft Learn Ambassador Program is, it's basically a platform for you to network with other students like you who are passionate about technology, about learning and sharing the knowledge that they have. So Microsoft Learn will also give you a platform to learn the skills that you will be teaching the various your fellow students. Let me just check. So just a minute, so I can't type and also talk at the same time. So how to join the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Program? Like just go to your Chrome or whichever browser you're using. Type Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Program. Click on that, and then just a minute as my browser loads. Sorry, and then immediately you click on the page, you will just see the option of apply now. So the application, it's not a long application, so it won't take you so much time. But there's some questions you will need to think about, not in depth, but you will have to give some thought into your application. But so it's a worthwhile program to apply for. It's given you the platform to be able to share the knowledge that I learned on Python and its used in solving space exploration problems. You get to have quite a number of benefits. You can get sometimes vouchers to take Microsoft certifications on various things such as Azure, data science, various areas. You also get to network with other students all over the world. There are different leagues for you to join. These emerging technologies, there's AI, and all of these leagues have a large number of students who are passionate about these particular areas. So you always have someone to help you with anything that you may need help in. You will get to grow your skills and build a reputation as a tech insider. You're given badges that you can present on your LinkedIn. As you know, your LinkedIn is your online resume, so it is very important for you, and it gets to build your public speaking skills, because it's not just virtual events. You can still organize such events in your university, and you get to network with students all over the world. So I cannot even begin to state all the benefits of being a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, but I hope I have explained enough for you to find it worthwhile for you to take your time to apply. So in conclusion, on behalf of Neha and I'd just like to say thank you so much for attending the event. We appreciate your taking your time to just be here and support us.